Hello, welcome to my tidbit for today. It's a bit sunny out today, so that's why I got my cool glasses on. So, one of the issues that I deal with a lot is people that who are on DACA or TPS, some temporary form of status. And a lot of times, for example, with DACA, they may qualify for something else for residency, but they're either too afraid to take it, they don't know about it, or they get too comfortable with their current status because they've been on DACA for a long time and they think that it will last forever, and that's not the case. I'll give you an example, and I've had this multiple times. People will come into my office on DACA and say, well, you know, have a couple years left, shouldn't be any problem. It'll just get renewed again. Number one, you don't know that it's going to be renewed again, especially with this administration. They would do everything in their power to not renew it if they could. And so they have limited it as much as they can, and who knows what's coming down the line. But then more importantly is these people, again, some examples are like they'll marry a U.S. citizen or a resident, whatever, and they will, instead of going forward trying to get residency through the citizen or resident, they'll just stay on DACA because somebody will tell them, which is probably a true statement, that ultimately they're going to have to leave the United States and go do consulate processing, and they're afraid to do it. They're afraid if they leave, they'll never come back. So I tell them, I go, well, okay, you need to do normal consulate processing, but then you also need to do a provisional waiver of inadmissibility. This assumes that they are inadmissible only on unlawful presence, okay, no other grounds. And if everything goes smoothly, they can stay here while the waiver is being adjudicated, and assuming it's provisionally approved, they can make the appointment at the U.S. Consulate and ultimately go and get their green card with relatively small risk. And honestly, if you quantify the risks between that versus thinking you're going to stay here forever on DACA, there's probably less risk with applying for the green card and doing consulate processing through a provisional waiver. That's the fact, Jack. So if you're on DACA, or TPS for that matter, and there's a path forward for you to obtain residency, you ought to do it. You ought to go forward. I mean, obviously speak to an immigration attorney and make sure it can be done. But don't just sit there and do nothing because you think you're totally safe. As a matter of fact, when you're on DACA or TPS, and you have a date certain that it's going to end or have to be renewed, you're currently in like no man's land. You're safe as it stands right now. You're not going to be deported. So you need to use that opportunity to try to find a way to get residency rather than, you know, when it expires and you can't renew it or something else happens that makes you try to rush to get the residency. And I guarantee you with immigration law, the word rushing and immigration law do not go hand in hand. Okay? So, bottom line of the story is if you're on DACA or TPS or some temporary residency, see an immigration attorney and get the scoop on how you can get residency. And especially if you're on some temporary status and you've married a lawful permanent resident or U.S. citizen, see about consulate processing and the provisional waiver of inadmissibility, because those still exist. They still can go forward. There's still a very good chance everything will go through, assuming it's done properly. Okay, if it's not done properly, well, you know, I can't help that. But if it is done properly and persuasively, then everything is a go. All right?